Do you have any idea how much the world around you is influenced by forces you cannot see? What happens on the spiritual plane can be even more real and impactful than you imagine. Perhaps you felt this in small moments, that sensation that something beyond the physical is happening, but you couldn't explain it. The truth is that there is a constant battle occurring, and this video will show you exactly how the spiritual world affects your life, often in ways you never considered. If you think you already understand how everything works, get ready to be challenged. What you are about to discover could completely change the way you see the universe around you. And the best part, you won't have to wait to start noticing these influences. The knowledge you will gain here can open your eyes in a quick and surprising way. The spiritual world is a universe that coexists with the physical, even if many are unaware of it. It is inhabited by beings that, although invisible, exert a constant influence on our reality. It's like an invisible layer where angels and other entities move. Some may think this is an abstract concept, but in reality, the spiritual can be as concrete as the world we touch. The connection between these two spheres is not limited to beliefs. It is something that permeates our daily lives, whether we realize it or not. People often ignore the subtle signs that they are being influenced by the spiritual, whether through sudden intuitions or feelings of presence that cannot be explained. A simple example is when we feel a change in the environment, as if something is present without being seen. This perception, although brief, gives us a small glimpse of what happens in that other plane. Those who learn to recognize this connection gain a completely new perspective on life, understanding that there is more beyond what the eyes can see. Understanding the reality of the spiritual world makes us realize that there are forces working for or against us. This doesn't mean we should live in paranoia, but rather that we can be more aware of the events happening around us. After all, those who have this perception can better handle adversities, recognizing that many of the battles we face are not just physical, but spiritual as well. And as all knowledge leads to a new step, the next point is how these forces directly act in our protection. Angel protection is something many people have experienced, even if they are not always aware of it. In moments of danger, when it seems that something invisible saved us from a greater harm, this intervention can be attributed to the presence of angels sent to protect us. Think of situations where an accident was avoided by seconds, or an unexpected decision saved us from future problems. These events, often considered coincidences, can be clear examples of the action of these entities. It is important to understand that this protection is not available only to a few, but to everyone. Throughout history, there are countless accounts of people who, in critical moments, felt a protective presence by their side. This can happen in everyday circumstances, like crossing a busy street, or even in more dramatic situations, such as an imminent disaster. The truth is that often we only realize this after the danger has passed, recognizing that something greater was watching over us. For those who seek to strengthen this connection with the spiritual, there are ways to open ourselves more to angelic protection. Prayer and meditation, for example, are practices that can align our minds with this invisible dimension. Additionally, cultivating a sense of gratitude for the small protections we receive daily is a way to acknowledge this presence and open doors for more constant interaction. And when we talk about divine protection, we must also be aware of the forces that act in the opposite direction, seeking to divert us from the path. While the angels of light work in our protection, there are also those who act in an opposing manner, seeking to lead people away from good, influencing them in often subtle ways. They manifest in negative thoughts, temptations, and even in situations of emotional chaos. Although invisible, these beings can have a profound impact, leading us to act against our own nature or values. Often, the malevolent forces take advantage of moments of weakness when we are emotionally vulnerable or distant from our spirituality. It is in these moments that their influences can become more powerful, making it essential that we remain attentive and protected. Practical example would be when someone, overwhelmed by anger or sadness, acts in a way they would never imagine. This feeling of being out of control can be an indication that external forces are at play. The key to dealing with these negative influences is to strengthen our mind and spirit. Practices such as prayer, reading sacred texts, and maintaining a positive social circle are effective ways to stay firm against these temptations. By recognizing the existence of these forces, we can take steps to avoid their influence. However, many wonder, how is it possible to understand what is happening on this spiritual level? The answer lies in the pursuit of a clearer vision of what occurs in this invisible plane. Although the spiritual world is present around us, most of us cannot see it directly. However, this does not mean we cannot understand or feel what is happening in this realm. The ability to see the spiritual world goes beyond physical sight. It involves developing a greater sensitivity to what lies beyond the eyes. This perception can manifest in various ways, such as vivid dreams, strong intuitions, or even that inexplicable feeling that something is happening around you. Often, to catch these signals, it is necessary to quiet the mind and pay attention to the subtleties of life. Moments of introspection or meditation can be gateways to these experiences. There are reports of people who, after moments of deep silence and connection with themselves, were able to glimpse realities that were previously hidden. Practical examples include those who, during prayer or meditation, felt a presence or saw an image that brought answers to their questions. However, seeing the spiritual world does not necessarily mean seeing entities clearly. Sometimes it is about perceiving the energy around us, understanding how it flows and influences the environment. This perception can help us make wiser decisions based on a broader view of what is truly happening. And as we open ourselves to this possibility, we become more aware that many battles and blessings are in fact reflections of what occurs in that other realm. An example of this can be found in ancient scriptures that narrate clear visions of this spiritual reality. Sacred scriptures are filled with examples that illustrate the reality of the spiritual world and its constant interaction with the physical world. The book of Daniel, for instance, describes a vision in which the prophet witnesses spiritual battles waged in the heavens, clearly showing that what happens up there has reflections here on earth. These visions serve not only as accounts, but as reminders that there is a continuous struggle between forces of good and evil, invisible to our eyes, very real. Another powerful example is found in the book of Revelation, where the Apostle John describes visions of angels and spiritual beings fighting against evil. These passages are like open windows to the spiritual world, revealing that spiritual warfare is a constant and that God's forces are actively combating malignant influences. These scriptures teach us not to be passive regarding these forces, to be spiritually prepared, aware that what we do not see is as important as what is in front of us. For those who wish to delve deeper into these examples, it is worth studying the biblical passages attentively. Books like Daniel, Revelation, and even Genesis provide profound insights into the nature of this spiritual battle. And it is not just about ancient stories. These texts continue to echo in the present, showing that the spiritual world still influences our reality. By knowing these stories, we gain a clearer view of how spiritual forces work around us and how we can protect ourselves and ally with the good. These biblical examples also lead us to reflect on personal experiences that can help us better understand this invisible war. Often, a direct experience can completely change our perception of these realities. The speaker shared a remarkable testimony of a personal experience that deeply transformed him. He described a moment when, going through a difficult period in his life, he had a clear vision of an angel. This spiritual being appeared to him in a moment of total despair, bringing a sense of peace he had never experienced before. The presence of this angel was not just a vision. It was a clear sign that he was being protected and guided, even amidst the most intense adversity. This vision had a lasting impact on his life, completely altering the way he viewed the world around him. After this episode, he began to recognize the constant presence of the spiritual world and the importance of being attentive to the signs. He recounts that, after this experience, his connection with the spiritual deepened, and he started to cultivate moments of silence and introspection, seeking more of these transformative interaction. This testimony is a powerful reminder that the spiritual world is not something distant or inaccessible, but is within reach of all who open themselves to it. For those who wish to experience something similar, he suggests the regular practice of prayer and meditation, along with an attitude of surrender and trust in the higher forces. There is no need to wait for moments of crisis to seek this connection. The more we allow ourselves to be open to the spiritual, the easier it becomes to perceive its influence in our life. Experiences like this may not happen in the same way for everyone. The impact they cause is always profound, bringing a new perspective on life and purpose. This personal story reminds us that in addition to ancient accounts and scriptures, the spiritual world can manifest directly and transformatively in each of our lives. This leads us to a question. How can we open our eyes to see these realities that often escape us? After understanding the depth and influence of the spiritual world, the big question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you willing to open your eyes to this new reality and take control of your spiritual life? What will change in your choices from now on, knowing there are invisible forces acting around you? Perhaps it's time to invest more in your spiritual growth. Pay more attention to the signs and experiences you have been ignoring. If you truly want to transform your life, first step is to act with awareness of this invisible battle. Now, how about continuing what you've learned here? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any more content that will help you understand even more about the spiritual world. Get ready to discover much more and take charge of your destiny with the knowledge and clarity that few possess.